Hi, I'm Paul, and I'm an amateur photographer.
Hi, Paul.
In this video, I'm going to show you how to easily mount and balance a camera on the Crane M2S gimbal. When you get the gimbal out of the box, it's probably going to look something like this. Do not turn the power on. There's a power switch right here. It's above the menu button on the side of the gimbal. Don't want to power it on until everything is mounted, and there's 3 different locks on here that have to be unlocked, otherwise the motors are going to go crazy. So you're going to want to fully charge the gimbal. So on this side of the gimbal, there's a red button, and that button is for this bright LED light that's up here if you ever need some extra light. And right here is where the USB cable that comes in the box, this is where you're going to plug it in. And as it's charging back here, you'll see right above the joystick, this will light up and you'll see the progress of it charged, and then when all the bars are lit up, it's fully charged. Also comes with these tripod legs. So put these on and they just flip out, plug it in, and start charging it. Gimbal also comes with mounting plate for the camera and a screw that was not in the mounting plate, so I'll show you how to do that, how to put that in. And because this thing is all metal and painted, I found it really difficult to get the slides adjusted so everything was balanced, so you could easily balance it because it kept binding. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to quickly break this thing in, because as I was using it, I started to notice, I don't know if you can see it right there, you can see bare metal. So we're going to speed up that process. So while the gimbal's charging, go and get some silicone spray. I was going to use oil, and a coworker of mine, Lawrence, said, no, you don't want to use oil because it's going to attract dust and it's going to get grimy over time, and you don't want to use silicone spray. And I use this on my bicycle chains, and they never get dirty or grimy. This stuff works great. So some silicone spray, I've got a little patch here that I'm going to spray the silicone spray on. You can use a Kleenex or a paper towel, preferably something cloth like an old T-shirt. The paper towel or Kleenex might get some paper fibers on it, but I'm just going to use a little piece of a patch, and so anything cotton will work. Go and get some fine sandpaper. This has got number 80 on the back of it. It doesn't matter what color it is, you just want some fine sandpaper. And then I've got a little vinyl glove to keep from getting the silicone spray all over my hands. So by doing this, it's going to make it so much easier to balance this gimbal. Or not balance the gimbal, but balance the camera on the gimbal. You can also mount a cell phone. When I bought the gimbal, I paid extra for the cell phone attachment, although I haven't used it yet. You can also mount a GoPro on it. I don't know if the company sells the GoPro attachment, but I've seen where you can buy it on Amazon and eBay probably. So you can also mount a GoPro on there. I'm going to use my Fuji X-T30 camera, which is it's pretty light, and this has got the Fuji 16mm f2.8. So it's a wide angle and it's a smaller lens. You can also mount an X-T4 on it, which I've done, which weighs quite a bit more than this. This gimbal is mainly made for lighter lenses and APS-C cameras. There's another more durable or sturdier, or a next step up gimbal if you have a full frame camera and heavier lenses. But I'm just going to use this. One thing you'll need to do if you have a camera strap attached to the camera, it's like I have this camera strap has a quick disconnect. So when I first started trying to balance this thing, I left this little quick disconnect thing on there, and it flaps around. And believe it, this thing hardly weighs anything. And believe it or not, this was throwing it off. So don't have anything attached to the camera that you don't need. These little things here are fine that come with the camera. And you're going to want to have the camera set up with all your settings, your battery in it that's charged, because battery plate, where you put the battery in is on the bottom, and that plate's going to be mounted to the bottom of this. So you want everything ready to go when you mount the camera. You can take it off and put it back on. Once it's balanced, you just have to, I'll show you, you just take it off and put it right back on. But all you want to have to do is, once it's mounted to the gimbal, is just power it on and then press the shutter button to start recording. So with that said, get your stuff together, get the gimbal charged, and we'll start getting this thing balanced. I also live in a condo that faces not really a busy street, but busy street is about a half a block away, and sometimes cars go down, so it might get a little noisy, but not much I can do about that. So, all right, let's get to balancing this camera on the gimbal.
Okay, this is what the camera and gimbal should look like when the camera is correctly balanced on it. You should be able to, this is the tilt, and you should be able to just hold it and let go, and the camera stays pointed forward. And that's done by the bar with this lever that slides forward and backwards. You should also be able to tilt it up and let go, and it stays balanced. And that's done with this bar right here, this adjustment, which is the most difficult one. So as long as it stays like that, and we'll loosen this to make that adjustment. And this is the front of the gimbal with the trigger. So we're going to turn it around. The next thing that we're going to balance is going to be the roll, and that's this part right here. So we want to be able to balance that, adjust it so it just stays like that. Just stays, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Just as long as you let go and it stays. The last one to adjust is the pan, and that's when the camera is panning back and forth, and that's down here with this adjustment right here, this lever. So when you know it's adjusted correctly, when you've got the camera sitting like that, you should be able to pick it up and then tilt it, get it level, and then tilt it on a 45-degree angle going to the front and to the right, and just tilt it a little bit, and it should stay pretty steady. If the camera rolls like this or rolls like that, it needs to be adjusted. So again, and I'm not tilting it that much. So I'm holding it, the trigger is in the front, the joystick is in the back, and I'm just tilting it just a little bit. And we haven't turned it on yet. So as long as it stays, it does that, you're good. So now let's get into adjusting it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the camera off. And again, to take the camera off, there's this black switch here. I'm just going to pull it to the right. And then I'm going to press the red button that says unlock. And the camera will come off. So I think the best thing to do is we're going to lock everything. So I'm going to lock this is the front of the gimbal. This is a switch. This is the lock for the pan. I've locked the roll, and I've locked the tilt. So this is a light camera. The X-T4 is a little heavier. The adjustment for the roll on this camera, so there's some markings here. There's a 1, there's a 2, and there's a 3. It's just a little below the 2.5. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just, so when I put so this is with the Fuji X-T30, which is a lighter camera. When I put the X-T4 on it, it shifted more this way. So there's very little of this part sticking out. So a good starting point, probably for any camera, is set it at the 2.5 hash mark, and then you unlock it by just flipping this up. Set it at 2.5, and then lock it down. For the pan, this is a little. It's closer to the it's right between the 2 and the 1.5 hash mark. This is the 1. There's a 2, and then there's a 3 at the top. So set it at the 2. So if you set both of these at the 2, that's a good starting point. And again, this one just flips out this little lever right here to lock and unlock the pan. The first thing that we're going to adjust is the tilt. That's the first one, and there is markings on it, but it's hard to see. But if you just set this, unlock this, and put it somewhere in the middle, close to the middle, that'll be good. And the same thing with this. This one is down here is close to the bars. The slide is close to the middle of the bar also. This is the one that's the most difficult to adjust, and that's because the gimbal, like it's painted, and it's metal on metal. And as I was using it, I saw that it started to get these wear marks and started taking the paint away. This one is difficult, the one that slides up and down, mainly because it's short. It's a shorter play in it, and a camera sitting on it, and because of the grip on the camera, it sticks out just enough to get in the way, and it's worse with the X-T4. So this is the way you loosen it, by turning it counterclockwise, and you tighten it by turning it clockwise. But because of that grip, you're going to need to turn this to the point where it's tight, and then back it off, but leave enough room so it doesn't interfere, or the grip doesn't interfere with it, so you can tighten it down. So what I did was I took a little bit of sandpaper, and I started sanding these edges right here on the it's right here where this slide is, and then I sanded it a little bit, and this is very fine sandpaper, just enough to give it. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm helping it with its breaking it in. So these edges right here, and then I sanded the paint on here a little bit also, and anywhere I could get into. And then to make it easier to slide, I take some WD-40. I don't want to put this glove on because I don't want to get WD-40 all over my hands. And I took a little patch or a little rag or something cloth, and sprayed just a little bit of, not WD-40, silicone spray. Spray a little bit of silicone. Don't use WD-40. Spray a little silicone spray on it, and then just rub it on there to give it some lubrication, and then loosen it up, and then slide it, and just get it some of this silicone spray on it. Just no need too much, but it's gonna help. It's gonna help with the adjustment. You can rub some on here too, but that slide that goes back and forth, that's not too difficult. So now that's done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw this off, so it's completely out of balance, and then I'm going to show you. I'm going to mount the camera on it, and then I'm going to show you how to balance the tilt. So we're going to do the tilt first. So I got the camera mounted back on the gimbal, and I'm going to hold the camera and then unlock the lock back here for the tilt. That's the lock that's next to the M2S logo. So now you can see it's too far back. And that's this slide right here. So if it's too far back, you're going to have to move it forward. If it's too far forward, you're going to have to move it back. So move it somewhere in the middle. You can lift up on the camera to take to take the weight off of it so it has less resistance, and then just move it just really slightly, barely move it, just to get it so it stays like that. And then move this lever back so it locks in place, and that's what we want. Just want it to stay like that. So that's somewhere close to the halfway point. And that's basically what it is for the XT4. Now we're going to do this. Now if it tilts down, it's not staying pointed up. It's too far down. If you've got it too far up, and again, this is the other thing. Tilted pointing up and adjusted. I'm still used to doing it the old way where I had it tilted down. Lift up, you can lift up on the camera, and then if you've got it too far back, it's going to tilt back. So just lift up on the camera and then use your fingers and just kind of just pinch it a little bit. Again, this is the most difficult one. And hopefully as it continues to get broke in, it'll be easier. It's not that difficult, but as you can see, with that silicone spray, that helps a lot. Lift up on the camera and then just move it very, very little, just till you get it balanced. Just like, see, I'm trying to be a perfectionist. And once it's balanced, just tighten that lever clockwise. And sometimes that little lever is enough to throw it off. So you got to loosen it up and then pick up on the camera, slide it back just a little tiny bit. So now it's staying. It'll stay pointed up. And it's probably because I don't have the most level table here, but it's staying up. And if I can get it to stay pointed forward, that's good enough. So we got those two. I think. Yeah, so if it's going forward, it's got to go back just a tiny, tiny bit. And again, this is, once you get this, the rest of it's easy. Wind it up, point it straight. Okay, so now we can turn it around, and I'm going to throw this off. I'm going to lock this because I don't want it tilting. I'm going to throw this off and hold the camera and then unlock it. It's on this side with the switch. You're going to want to unlock that. And that is completely off. So this little tongue part right here, it's going to go almost always over to the right. It's going to be even on the XT4. It's almost all the way. So you just want to get it so to a point where if you can hold it and it stays balanced. It doesn't tilt to the left or to the right. It stays. And this one's very easy to do. And then just push the lever down and it stays like that. So now I can loosen the tilt. So we've got the tilt unlocked, we've got the roll unlocked, and it'll stay. Camera lens is pointed forward. And if it doesn't stay, if this is off, you have to adjust it a little bit. So again, we're going to go back here to the front. We're going to loosen this right here, and it's rolling forward, which means we're going to have to go back just a little tiny bit. And again, this is what the difficult part is to get it to be able to move it just enough, because this one it's hard to control. So if you can get that one, you're good. So again, all I want to do is hold it. It stays there. Didn't matter if it tilted forward like that. If I can get it to stay, just stay like that. And now, is it pointed forward? Pointed forward. And it's balanced in the back. And those two are unlocked. The roll and the tilt. Next thing we're going to do is the pan. So I've loosened the lever on the side for the pan, and I've pushed it all the way forward, so it's out of adjustment. So you need to unlock the switch on the front for that's above the trigger. So now we're all three locks are unlocked, and what we need to do is to again pick up the camera. We don't want it to roll. We want the trigger facing forward. The joystick is in the back, and we don't want this thing rolling. So again, I moved it back around to 2.5, and then I'll lock it, hold it steady, hold it up, and then tilt. If it's tilting to the right, need to bring it back just a little bit more. So lock it down and keep adjusting it till it stops tilting to the right or the left. And this is an easy one to adjust also. It's just that just takes a little patience just to get it right. So now I got the camera balanced, and I'm tilting it. And if it's just a little bit off, I'll just bring it back just a little bit more. I mean, very, very little. Not even a hash mark. And I want to be able to, I don't want it spinning. I want it to stay just like that. And that's good enough. So I'm going on a 45-degree angle to the front and to the right, and the camera isn't rolling. It might tilt a little bit, but it's not rolling. And the last thing to do is we're going to calibrate it. And the way you calibrate it, everything's loose, so the pan, the tilt, and the roll, everything is loose. We're going to turn it on. So we're going to push the power switch up. And on the back, the LED screen is going to come on. It's going to say PF. And then you're just going to hold it. You can set it on a level surface, but I don't have a level table. I mean, I don't think it's that level. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold it straight up. I'm going to press the menu button, and then you're going to see, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it because it's not, the letters are really small, but it says motor, and there's an asterisk next to it, and below it says advanced and a joystick. So motor is selected by default, and it's got the asterisk to the right. Push the joystick to the right, and then you're going to see where it says auto and an asterisk to the left of it, and it says level and custom. So we're going to hold let me take this off. Let me take the tripod off so I can bring it down farther. Oops. So I'm just going to hold it straight up, and I'm going to push the joystick to the right, and then you're going to see a sine wave. And then the camera is going to start shaking, and it's going to shake 3 times. It's going to be calibrating the motors. And then when it's done calibrating, so right now it says auto tune, and you'll see the camera vibrating. And I'll do it 3 times. And then when it's done, it's going to say check OK. Press the menu button once, press it a second time, and then it says PF, and that means pan forward. And now the gimbal is active and ready to use. It's balanced. And if I'm not going over the different settings, I'll do the pan forward. Pan forward means wherever I turn the gimbal, that's where the lens is going to point. And if I want to reset, if it's off a little bit, let's say it's like that, double tap the trigger and it resets it. If you triple tap the trigger real fast, it'll do a selfie mode. So the camera's pointed away from me. I'm going to hit it twice to reset it, and I'm going to do it 3 times real fast, and then it turns around and you can do a selfie. Tap it 3 times real fast again, and then it goes back to the normal setting. There's a few settings. You select them with this mode button on the back of the gimbal, and there's another one called this is for L. It says lock forward. That means if I'm walking in a straight line, the camera will not tilt or move to the left or right or up or down. And if I try to move in a different direction, the lens tries to stay pointed forward. To get back to the PF, you just press the mode button again. And there's several other settings, but I'm still learning this thing, so I'm not going to get into that. So yeah, now it's ready to use. Now sometimes it goes into a sleep mode, and you can, like a power saving mode. So if I press the trigger and the mode button, you'll see a moon and stars. So if you ever see that moon and Z's or moon and Z's, like it's sleeping, if the camera goes into that mode, just hold the trigger down in the front and push the mode button, and then it'll wake up and it's ready to go again. So the other thing, do not lock any of the locks while the gimbal is on. Turn the gimbal off, push the mode button, the power button up, and hold it until the gimbal turns off. Then lock everything, because you don't want these 2 locks on the side for the tilt and the roll, and then the lock for the pan, because the gimbal the motors will start struggling. They'll be trying to move if the power is on. So here's another feature. I'm going to unlock these again. So if you got the gimbal, I'm going to power it on. Everything's unlocked, and I'm powering it on. If you have something on a table and you want to take a picture of it, you can tilt the gimbal or the camera in any direction. And when you do that, you're going to feel it struggle a little bit, but just hold it for a couple of seconds and it'll stay like that. It'll stay in that position. To get it out of that position, just double tap the trigger. So if you're trying to take a picture of a piece of jewelry or something and you want to tilt it down like this, just hold it for a couple seconds. You'll feel some resistance, but that's normal. And when you're done, double tap and it resets itself. So I'm going to turn it off and then just walk around this thing for a second. I'm going to lock everything. So you have 3 locks. Just remember, you have to lock 3 things, unlock 3 things, and then just jiggle it until they get in the right place. So you have the power button and the menu button on the right side of the gimbal. The back of the gimbal is the joystick, the record button, which isn't supported by my cameras, and the mode button. You have the switch for the LED, and this is where the USB plugs into it to adjust, to charge it, trigger in the front, and then this lock for the pan. So one other thing that I want to show you, I'm going to unlock everything. Again, remember you have 3 locks. Unlock everything, power it on, and then it'll set itself. Here's the joystick. So the joystick in the back goes up and down or left to right. So as you're using the gimbal, if you push the joystick up, it'll tilt down. If you push it down, it tilts up. If you push it to the right, it turns to the right. If you push it to the left, it turns to the left. If you want to reset it, double tap the trigger. Again, up, it tilts down. Down, it tilts up. Right, it tilts right. Left, it'll tilt or move to the left. Not tilt to the left, it'll move to the right and move to the left. And double tapping. And then we have the LED on the front that if you're in a dark area, and it comes with some filters that will that snap over it. I haven't used it. I think there was 3 or 4 different filters. But if you hold, and this isn't adjustable, it's really bright. But if you push the, I'm going to turn it to this direction. Oops. Hold the LED button up, and it comes on. Doesn't seem to be adjustable, but it's pretty bright in a dark area. So you have that little light, which is also going to use the power of the battery. And then to turn, oh, it does have different settings as I move it up or down. Ah, I just learned something. Well, that's cool. So you turn it on, push it up, it gets brighter. Push it down, it gets dimmer. Oh, and then holding it up turns it off. So see, I even learned something. See, that's what happens when you're an amateur. So I hope that helped. If you buy this gimbal, if it helps you with adjusting it, I love this thing. I'm still playing around with it. I'm still learning it. I'll see if I can find some YouTube videos. There was a couple of content creators that did videos on it for, they did the adjustments, and they also went over the different mode functions. I might do one of those mode functions later when I learn more about it. But yeah, I hope this helped, and I got through this second part of the video in one take, and then now I just got to go and edit it. So yeah, it's worth the money. This gimbal, it's around $250, but a little more if you want the camera adapter for mounting a cell phone on it. And then it comes with a kind of looks like a leather or some type of a leather looking case. But yeah, this is definitely worth the money. So thanks again for watching, and remember, photography, just take it one day at a time.